So I want you to look at these two comments here. I think for most people, they will say that when your wife wants space, this is really the beginning and the end, because there's no way back from your wife wanting space. Because honestly, for most people, especially the ones who go online and watch a lot of videos about relationships, most people handle space very badly. But for most of my clients, basically all of them enrolled when their wives want space, divorce or separation. Heck, people don't spend money, right? Until their situation is dire. And for my clients, their reality is very different. Space actually becomes the opportunity they've been looking for to plant the best seeds, the most impactful seeds for reconciliation. And actually, for most of my clients, when they're able to handle space correctly, when they do come back together, their relationships come back stronger than ever. And to understand how to navigate your partner wanting space, we need to understand first why they want it in the first place. And what helps here is to really think about the feminine in general. You see, the majority of women naturally take on a much more receptive role. And this is usually true spiritually, right? Emotionally, and we see this literally true physically as well. So when women reach a point when they want space, they usually have gone through 3 stages of their own experience. So stage 1 is then when they begin to lose their sense of self. So stage 1 here begins when the masculine leader of the relationship has gone through what we call a wounded masculine. So here, as men go through a lot of the stress of life, they face traumas and so on, a lot of men begin to lose touch with their masculine values. And they lose touch with a unique form of leadership, basically, they bring to the relationship. So when we speak to new clients, for example, and I ask them, well, why did your partner choose you in the first place? A lot of men struggle to answer with that because they've forgotten their value, they've forgotten their strengths. And in many ways, right, these men, they've lost their self-esteem because the problems have been happening for so long. And when you're operating from that wounded place, it's very difficult to lead properly. Likewise, it's very difficult for a woman to feel led when you have that wounded masculine. So when you begin operating from that place, whatever the cause it is, your partner gradually starts to lose her sense of self, of being led, of being supported, of that safety within that relationship too. And so because the feminine usually takes on more of the receptive role, again, they begin to take in the masculine's loss of leadership and loss of virtues too. And they begin to feel lost themselves. Now, when women themselves, they will never really notice this happening, right? Often they can't really even articulate what is happening. And of course, the man is going to be even more oblivious to this usually. But typically, there are 2 signs you can expect. And so one, their women will harden. They will begin to take a lot of more, wear the pants more, right? They'll speak in a much more matter-of-fact way, very unfeminine ways too. And they might even stop putting in more care into their feminine stuff, like putting on makeup, dressing up for you, stuff like that. Or some women go in the passive route. They quiet quit. She does stuff and goes through motions, but with no emotions here. And you can feel this, right? They're just doing laundry, just going through the day, but there's really no connection anymore. And so this is why, right? If you haven't taken the blueprint quiz yet, you'll notice that the first section that we have in that quiz talks about your masculine leadership and the virtues of your archetype. Because this is usually the first step to understand how to heal yourself from your wounded masculine and understand what to heal towards. Because the first step is you got to take care of your wounded masculine right now. So if you haven't already done so, take 15 minutes to complete our free quiz, linked in the description. And I think that will show you some of the virtues that you may have lost. Now, stage 2 is when they express these emotions, but again, not much happens. So when the feminine stays long enough in level 1, she'll eventually begin to express this stuff to you, but often in ways that are a bit indirect. Now, they're indirect for 2 very good reasons usually. So number 1 is that for women and for her and for people in general, I think for you as well, right? Emotions are very difficult to express. Sometimes whatever you feel cannot even be described in words here. Like if I ask you, right, how do you feel right now? You can say words like, I'm elated, I'm stressed, I'm paranoid, I'm frustrated. But those words are never going to really encapsulate what you truly feel. It's whatever you feel is always a lot more complex than what words can describe. So because of this, women often don't know, or people often don't know how to articulate what they're missing. It's often more of a feeling than a fully formed thought. So a female client, for example, comes to mine who told us during the reconciliation interview at the time that she couldn't really explain what felt wrong here. She just knew that something was off, something was missing. Maybe you've heard this from your partner too. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's off, but something feels off. And it was only later, after a lot of reflection, after the reconciliation, that she realized that she's been missing something people often describe as what we call passive support. So to relate this as a man, this is like when you're out there fighting your battles, you're out there fighting for your family, getting money, whatever it is, building a business. And it's this feeling that your wife is behind you, right? At home, supporting you and has your back all the time. Like you don't need to worry about her. So maybe she's taking care of the household, working alongside you. You have this feeling of not needing to worry about what's going on at home with her, about what she's thinking, about what she's feeling. And you're just able to fight your battles with your peace of mind. And that was what passive support is. And so you can see how even the word passive support is really hard to articulate. How do you encapsulate that feeling in just a word or two? You really can't. It's really hard to encapsulate that feeling with words. And this shows you again just how difficult it is to articulate what you feel. So the odds again that a man will misinterpret what the woman is saying, what the real issues are very high. And number two, you also have this problem where a lot of men, whatever archetypes they fall into, they tend to navigate towards something that makes sense to them. So you can really see this clearly in this clip from a recent coaching call here, when we talk with a client who's a hero archetype. And note how for him, his initial instinct is to interpret what their partner said from more of his wounded masculine and their dark sides, and just misinterpret the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm actually realizing I like misinterpreted completely something she said around when we were breaking up, where she was like, I rely on her for my emotions.
Mm.
And in my head, my head, I'm like, oh, you mean I'm too needy? Like I'm too like
Yeah.
emotionally available. Like,
Because that probably made you think like I need to let my fire burn hotter then. But she's literally telling you like, no, dude, I feel like I'm letting your fire burn too hot. Like your fire responds to me too much.
oh my God, sorry. Yeah, I'm just like in my head, I'm just like, yeah. I feel like every that's literally basically everything she's saying can be translated into that. Before she blocked me, she liked this Instagram reel that she knew I could see, right? And it literally said like, oh, guys think they have to go to the gym after a breakup, but you have the emotional maturity of a doorknob or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, fuck.
She needed more softness, not you for you
Like,
go to
yeah, it's
the
like the
fucking
same
gym.
thing. Yeah. Oh my God. Sorry. I feel stupid reading this.
No, but that's the big issue,
Yeah.
right? Because the problem is misdiagnosis and why people put in so much effort, but the effort is not going
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
So here you're busy kind of like building your masculine frame in
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
subtle way and letting your becoming less needy, right? Becoming essentially less emotionally vulnerable,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that's not what you needed. And so you can see here how his partner was trying to express to him what she was really trying to say, but because of his own blind spots, he was only able to interpret what he thinks she means, but what he thinks she means is nowhere close to actually what she actually meant. And this is where the stage two really matures. Because there's two reasons, right? The feminine will often express and give all the clues she can, but the masculine lead will not be able to see it. And often when they do see it, they misinterpret it. And so some of you may say, well, why can't women just be less complicated and just express themselves properly then? Again, she's trying to express complex emotions in the best way she can. And she's expressing them properly, but often due to our wounded masculine dark sides, it is the masculine lead who often cannot understand what those expressions actually mean. When you can't read that, you end up at the final level where she's now actively pushing for space or separation usually. And this is a result of what we call the catch-22. Basically, another word for this is rock in a hard place, right? We'll use the protector archetype here to, for example, to illustrate how this catch-22 can play out in a real life setting. So here she tries to express the issues, but whenever she does, the protector can only see the logistical or the logical sides of what she's expressing. And he's really blind to those emotional sides. So obviously, nothing changes, and she thinks to herself, right? Either he doesn't get it, he can't get it, he will never get it, or nothing good happens when I express myself. In fact, I get labeled as an emotional person and not making sense, right? So option one is bullshit, right? So option two is she stops bringing it up and she lowers her standards, lowers her dreams, expectations of what she expects from the relationship. And you will see a lot of women right before they start asking for space go through a stage of quiet quitting, where they're just less emotionally involved, they're less emotionally present, and just going through the motion. This is them transitioning from option 1 to option 2. Because they're lowering their standards, their expectations, they quickly realize that it's a bad option too. So this isn't with only the third option and the only remaining option, that is to find themselves without you, to escape, because she obviously cannot find herself with you. And this is when that desire for space really comes up. And this is another reason why I say space can often become the beginning of the end for a lot of people, because at this stage right here, when your wife wants space, when she feels really hopeless, this is when you see comments like this. But when you think like that and you act from these thoughts, you're making her wanting to leave a self-fulfilling prophecy, because she's thinking, right? Again, I'm leaving because I don't feel led. I don't feel emotionally safe with this guy. I don't feel like this guy can understand my problems here. I feel like this guy is always just attacking me all the time. So that will naturally cause her to pull away. And when she pulls away, you begin to judge her. You become bitter, you give up, you start playing stupid power games. That's when she's gonna think, yep, okay, I think I'm making the right decision here to leave. So once you understand this, then how can this help you know what to do when your wife wants space? So the first thing, you need to understand that every woman has a different reason why she wants space or why she feels unsafe. So a woman, for example, could want space because they feel like the emotional sides of the relationship hasn't been met. Other women want space because they feel like there's a lot of conversations that lead nowhere. Some women need space because they feel like you're not fighting for them in some way. Or others want space maybe because you feel smothering and your passion becomes very needy. They also feel unsafe for a lot of different reasons. So I said it before, and I'll say it again. My biggest pet peeve right now is that there's a lot of coaches out there talking about this concept of emotional safety, but they don't have the first clue about what emotional safety actually means. And they're actually making a lot of situations even worse, because the very first tenet of emotional safety is that there's a very different definition of emotional safety for every person. So this idea of a one-size-fits-all emotional safety is very dangerous, guys. And so there's not one single path to safety here. There's not a single way to navigate space either. So the first thing you need to learn to do is to show her that you are able to understand the softer and intangible aspects of the problem. If you are able to paraphrase and express to her the things she's not even able to articulate herself, that is a great first step. Because if you cannot feel it, guys, if you cannot understand what she's really saying to you, then nothing can really happen. If you don't understand the problem, then how can you fix the problem? And she knows that. She knows that in her mind. And so once you get clear on this, you can really begin to understand and find the right, what we call a Trojan horse. It's an initial campaign that you start with her that can begin planting the right seeds to show her that you are able to lead in the correct way. And like I keep saying, each person's situation is unique here. So finding the right Trojan horse for your specific situation is critical. And just to drive this point home, most of what I mean. You were fiery, you were angry, you got angry a lot. Then you became very vulnerable and you start to cry a lot. But this, you don't realize that these two are still all coming from that tethered place where the outcome, the circumstance, your partner is still affecting how you do things. Your partner still feels like, no, what you do is still highly dependent on what I do.
So basically, I just try to manipulate him using different ways. I now realize that these are all manipulating tactics, and I also eventually come out as fake because when I try the stoic approach, then, for a few days he's like, okay, maybe she's quiet now, maybe she understands me. But then eventually he realizes that, no, this is another manipulation. She is just the same.
We talk about this notion of like having the right TPTT here. One campaign that you might want to consider with your partner here is something like this. Hey, I know I've been doing a lot of thinking, right? And I realized that part of what makes you feel very smothered here, you said overwhelmed, you want a lot of space. I think I'm starting to understand that. Because even right now, when you don't respond to me for like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I find that my mind has so many thinking, so many assumptions, a lot of judgments, a lot of like reasoning. Why is he doing this? What is he doing this? Why is he doing this? And I'm reading so much into you giving space or not you responding. And I bet there's a big part of you that felt like every move you make, every step you take, every word you say was always being watched and over read and overanalyzed, overmanaged. I just take like a signal you're giving me and I take it like all the way. I want you to know that I recognize that problem. And as you're taking space here, whether you're like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is, I don't want you to feel like while you're taking space, I'm here making a bunch of judgments and more narratives about why you're taking space. I want you to be able to take your space guilt-free and be okay with that and know that you don't have to worry about me right now. So you see how like by understanding this archetype, we can start to understand many different Trojan horses, campaigns, TTH angles, so we can start to really heal stuff. Those Trojan horses were born out of understanding the softer, the intangible problems unique to their particular situations. And when you find the right Trojan horse here, your ability right now to show that you understand something that even she's finding it hard to articulate will often create this massive pattern interrupt that will shock her in the most positive way. And this is actually very important because when you find the right Trojan horse here, you'll find that the resistance to your actions, to whatever you say, will be a lot lower, allowing you to like deepen the conversation a lot more and to plant more seeds too. Then once you get your Trojan horse in, you need to learn how to water those seeds, how to water and nurture those Trojan horses. Because when you insert your Trojan horse, right, and it's the right Trojan horse, you are creating the first semblance of what we call emotional safety. And you're going to picture this like this. You are basically letting the doors of the dam open a little bit more, right? And when that happens, all the unhappiness, all the gunk, all the pent up stuff, all the stuff she thought she cannot express to you, now it's going to start flooding out. And this will usually come in the form of what we call paradox of change. And the paradox of change here is a very natural thing. Okay, you do the same thing too. So for example, if you don't trust someone right now, and suddenly that person starts saying and doing things differently, you would actually get more suspicious. You would actually get more doubtful. And so when you get POC, paradox of change, this may come in a flawed form of like stonewalling, sometimes anger, tough truth, harsh realities. But this is different than resistance, which is often created by the wrong what, how, or why behind your execution. So when you get POC here, this is actually your time to shine. Because when you get POC, you're able to continue to show her that you understand the problems, you understand the doubt, you understand the deeper things of what she's feeling. She will just keep opening more and more and more up to you. And it's funny, right? Because for a lot of my clients, again, their reconciliation usually doesn't happen until they've had a conversation about divorce or separation. Or sometimes the divorce or separation actually happened already. Because POC is like a rite of passage. You need that to allow your seeds to really shine. So let me give you a stupid, silly example, okay? Let's say you got this waterproof suit, but you live in a place where it never rains. So for the last 265 days, you've been wearing this suit and you've been staying dry, but it's never rained. So of course it's dry. So can you ever trust the waterproofness of your suit? No. But then in day 366, right, it's pouring rain. And voila, you stay dry. You go outside, you stay dry. That one day's experience in that suit is going to trump the last 365 days in that suit. So your partner is saying that she wants space here. This is like the pouring rain finally coming. And if you have been making changes in the correct ways, this should be a really good day for you. Because whatever you do and say here will matter so much more. But again, the crucial part here is that you need to learn how to grow in the correct ways. So when your partner wants space, everyone tells you, right, work on yourself, increase your value, build your masculine frame, become more high value man, earn more money, get ripped, or whatever people say these days, right? What we need to understand is this, that you need to grow in the ways that will actually allow you to read between the lines, to find a Trojan horse, and dance through tough truth and POC, to basically to do everything we just discussed above. Now, you can grow all you want in all these other areas, but if it's not allowing you to do the above, no one gives a shit. So it's funny, right? We talk to a lot of people and people always say, I've changed, Jeff, but she still doesn't believe me. So when I ask them to detail out how they changed, all the things they listed are not even the things they need. Your problem is not that you're not a good listener. Your problem right now is you're overthinking, you're overfeeling, you tend to shut down, you tend to retreat inwards, you tend to be too gentle and calm. Do you think mindfulness is what you need?
No. Because I'm already very in my mind.
So if you get stuck in the first pattern where you both feel like, well, we've done every logistical solution that we can possibly think of, but I'm still not feeling any different, what's the natural conclusion?
Yeah, there's no solution.
Maybe we're just forcing something that wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
Do you think that given the problems we discovered in your relationship, do you think being non-reactive is what you need to do?
No.
It's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Now that we look at it, it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Right now, as a protector, you have been hoarding shit in your backpack because you care about so many things. You want to solve so many problems. But you having a heavy backpack is what has been diverting your attention away from people that matter. Right now, you need to look into your backpack and go, what do I really need? What are nice to haves and what are must haves? And anything that are not must haves, get that shit out. Because you need to focus your drive, focus your energy, focus your attention on the 1, 2, or 3 things that matter. And these guys, they don't realize that when you say you've changed or you think you've changed, but your changes are in the wrong ways, your partner's gonna look at that, look at your changes and think, yeah, this guy is just not capable or willing to get it because he thinks these changes are the correct ones. And that's exactly why we spend so much time coaching our clients through understanding how to read the situation, because from the inside, the wrong directions or the wrong changes rarely look wrong to us. They feel reasonable, they feel logical, they feel like the right thing to do. So if you're watching this video and you realize you may be falling into some of the same traps, I'll leave the link to apply for the program below if you want to explore this deeper. And real quick here, I know some of you are thinking right now, Jeff, I thought you said that no situation is unique, right? So why are you suddenly talking about personalized blueprints and different recovery plans and paths and so on? Well, it's because those two ideas are not contradictory, right? Because it's true that no situation is unique because the principles that it takes to repair the relationship are still universal. They're not unique. So the 5 stages that we take clients through are always the same. The destination is always the same, right? Reconciliation. But the route you take to get there is often very different. Think about it. It's like climbing a mountain. We're all trying to reach the same summit, but we don't all start from the same place. So some people fell down the north side of the mountain. Some people fell down the south side. And so they fell down the mountains in all these different ways. The way back up is different for all of you too. So that's why, again, when you look at these 5 stages, right? What defines an internal shift for someone may be a different internal shift for another. What defines a good Trojan horse for one person may be a bad Trojan horse for the other person. So again, the 5 stages here stays the same, but how you move through those stages depend entirely on your own unique archetype, your own unique patterns, your blind spots, and the unique breakdowns that got you here in the first place. And this is exactly why the BAG process, BAG, Blueprint, Audit, Guardrails, sits on top of each of those 5 stages, because the 5 stages here basically tell us how to get to the summit, right? The BAG process tells us our unique path to get to those summits based on your specific situation. So take stage 1 again, for example, internal shifts. Everybody needs internal shifts, but not everybody needs the same internal shifts. This is where the blueprint comes in. It gives you clarity on why your specific relationship broke down in the first place. It helps you understand your archetype, your partner's experience of you, your blind spots, and the specific patterns that have been driving disconnection. Without that clarity, most people end up doing random self-improvement. They work a lot harder, they make more money, they consume more content, they say this, they do that, but none of that necessarily addresses the actual reasons the relationship actually broke down. That blueprint helps you identify which internal shift will actually move the needle. And then comes the audit here, because knowing the shift is one thing, but actually making the shift is something else entirely. Okay, the audit helps you root out the beliefs, the mind viruses, the coping mechanisms, the archetype-specific patterns that have been putting you back into the same behaviors. Because here's the reality, okay? 99% of what you learn about relationships or think you need to do for your relationship is not actually useful for you. In fact, it could actually be hurting you even more. And then comes the G part, the guardrails, because again, even when you understand what to do conceptually, blind spots will always be blind spots for you. And so worst of all, these blind spots will always sound good to you, will always sound right to you. You're still gonna have moments where emotions run high, for example. You're still gonna have moments where your old programming takes over. This is why the guardrails provides preparation before important moments and debriefing afterwards. So you never have to guess if you're actually moving in the correct direction, and you never allow yourself to run in the wrong direction for too long. Basically, it's like having a pocket GPS in your pocket all the time. And this is stage 1, right? The exact same thing happens throughout the rest of the journey here. So again, when you go through the Trojan horse, every Trojan horse is unique, frameworks is unique, right? The dance is unique, and so on. And when you do it this way, the road to reconciliation becomes very much a guarantee. So if you still need more proof, watch this video next with one of our clients who was exactly in the same position that many of you are in now. So his partner wanted space to the point where she left the country. And just like many of you, he initially had no idea she was really trying to communicate and give him chances here. So in this interview, you'll hear how he learned to exactly read between the lines, identify the deeper issues driving separation, and ultimately turn what looked like the beginning of the end into the beginning of the beginning for his case.